I would have been where I am now if I hadn't moved to San Francisco. So I'm Tom Medema. I am a self-taught software engineer and I have an education in business and economics. I was previously the CTO at a successful startup in the Netherlands called Bloomon. And since 2018, I am the CEO and founder of Bubbles. And at Bubbles, we address the gap in the current communication toolkit of Slack, email, and Zoom. And we have tens of thousands of happy users. What is your best personal experience in doing business in the US? So one, you could say, strategy that's really popular now in Silicon Valley is actually not to hire a bunch of salespeople and try to sell your product, but rather it's to build a really good product and have your users sell that product for you, right? So this is what we call product-led growth. What was your most WTF moment doing business in the US? I was introduced to David Sachs, who is the founder of Yammer and founding CEO of PayPal. And David had invited me to an interview to consider potentially investing in Bubbles. So I had expected this typical investor conversation where they would ask me about revenue projections, total addressable market size, and etc. But instead, David and I were brainstorming, whiteboarding on the future of asynchronous collaboration. And I then asked him for a small pre-seed round of $250,000. But instead, he countered with $1 million. So a really awesome experience. And really an experience where I knew I was in the middle of Silicon Valley and San Francisco. So you can run a software company from anywhere in the world. Why did you choose San Francisco? So I chose San Francisco, and I still choose San Francisco because of the culture here and the kind of networks that you can build. So outside of San Francisco, outside of the US, I often felt like I'm in a little bit of an echo chamber. Now that I'm here, though, people continuously challenge me on my ideas. They are really happy to try things out. And really, I don't think that I would have been where I am now if I hadn't moved to San Francisco. Can you share one important and practical tip on scaling a company in the US? Right, so one important, I think, one thing that I found very helpful there is instead of trying to scale an organization vertically where you add, for example, more engineers in the engineering team and designers in the design team, you rather build small teams, almost like startups within a startup. And each of these teams is given their own domain, a sandbox within which they can operate. So by doing that, you create small teams that are not blocked by other folks in the organization, but are autonomous and are able to execute very efficiently and really innovate. All right, my number one tip for fundraising in the Bay Area. So fundraising here, I think, this is an amazing place to raise funds, but you do need to do it somewhat tactfully. So I would say, don't go for the big whales from day one. Rather, build up your network, even if these people are not investors, because you will find that in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, most people actually are connected to directly or indirectly to, for example, smaller investors and angel investors. And in the case of Bubbles, our first angel investor was actually Jack Altman. And he is the founder and CEO of Lattice, which is a $3 billion company now. And Jack's endorsement really was amazing for us because, first of all, he's a great mentor. He's super experienced in the software as a service industry. Really helped us kind of define what that future of asynchronous collaboration, remote work could look like. But also his investment, really serves as social proof for our company. And ultimately, I think these are the kinds of things that enable other larger investors to invest in our company.